As the True Untold Nightmares community grows, remember, these are real humans telling real encounters with real trauma. Be respectful, be empathetic, and you don't have to agree on everything. And if you don't agree, talk, not attack. Attacking others for their beliefs is not welcomed in this community. Welcome to episode 15. I'm your host, Chris Moss, and today I got two Dogman encounter stories for you. One is from a trucker who didn't believe in these things, but it's safe to say that now he does. And the second is from a lady who saw one in her backyard. But before I get into that, real quick, join the Facebook group. The link is in the description below the YouTube video. And I just created an Instagram page, so come follow me if you have Instagram. And if you've had an experience or an encounter of any kind, I'm not just a Dogman channel, shoot me an email. The email is in the description, or you can shoot me a Facebook message, or you can message me on Instagram now. Your story can be public, non-public, I can retell it, or you could come onto the show and tell it yourself if you would like to. Now, I have to say I'm excited for this first encounter because it comes from a truck driver named Charles, and I finally have an encounter from a truck driver. And I know truck drivers, they drive late at night, they drive all over the country, so they see a lot of things. And I want to encourage more truck drivers out there. If you're out there and listening to this small podcast, shoot me an email. I look forward to hearing about your encounters and your experiences. Now, 9 years ago, Charles said that he was driving his truck from Texas to California, and somewhere around Arizona, it was starting to get late and he was tired, so he pulled over to take a piss and get some sleep in his bunk. And this was about 1:30 a.m. when he decided to pull over and get some rest. And he said that the closest town was like 50 miles away. Now, unfortunately, where Charles decided to pull over, it was heavily wooded on the left and the right, both sides heavily wooded. 1:30 in the morning, it's pitch dark. But he said the reason he decided to pick a less traveled road to get some rest was because he didn't want to be bothered. He didn't want to pull over and have some cop knocking on the window to make sure he was okay. He just wanted to get just some rest. That's all he asked for, some peace, quiet, and rest. Now, while handling his business in the woods, he said he wasn't too far in, but just far enough that if a car happened to pass by, they wouldn't see him. But while he was finishing up, he said that he heard shuffling around him, like movement. But he brushed it off as wildlife. I probably startled a raccoon, a possum, or a deer or something, you know? He didn't think too much about it. It didn't scare him. But he said shortly after that, he smelled a strong animal smell. Like a smell you would smell when you go to the zoo or a farm, but stronger, just a lot stronger. But once again, he said he brushed it off. It's an animal, it's out in the wild, whatever, it stinks. Now, after that, he went back to his truck, went to sleep in his bunk. And around 3 a.m., he woke up to his truck rocking side to side, but not aggressively, just kind of like somebody's pushing it, you know, I guess similar to how you would rock a baby, but it was also kind of like something outside was trying to get his attention. It was that type of rocking. It wasn't an aggressively rocking his truck back and forth, just a push. It's pitch black, so he didn't see anything, but shortly after he woke up, the rocking stopped. Now, Charles did mention there were no earthquakes that day, and no human can consistently rock a truck that size the way it was being rocked. So to see what was going on, he crawls to the front of the truck and turns his truck on. And he said what the headlights caught and showed in front of him, he will never forget. Standing in front of his truck was a fucking werewolf. A black 9-10 foot tall wolf on two legs with the meanest look he's ever seen on an animal or whatever this thing is. The chest on this thing was huge and muscular. It had thick hair around the neck, almost like a mane. And he said the ears were like a German Shepherd's or a Doberman's, where they stuck straight up. And the eyes, he said the eyes shine like an amber color. And he said they stared at each other for what felt like hours, but realistically, he thinks it was only a few minutes. Then it gave this deep growl that he said he felt in his very bones before running off into the woods. And he said this was the fastest thing he's ever seen on this earth. Now, he said he honestly doesn't know what to make of what the hell he saw that night. He doesn't know if it was a werewolf. He doesn't know if it was real. A part of him wants to believe that it was fake, but he knows deep down in his soul that what he saw that night was not fake. It was very real, and he does not travel less traveled roads anymore to get some sleep. He says now he'll wait till a truck stop, or he'll say screw it and pull over on a busy highway, but he refuses to stop in a heavily wooded area at night. And he also wasn't a believer of such things. He didn't believe in these dogmen, which he never heard of before his encounter. He didn't believe in the paranormal, nothing. But he said after this encounter, he has to rethink everything. And this was 9 years ago, and he said he's still affected to this day. Let me know what you think about this encounter down in the comments below. Now, this next encounter comes from Pennsylvania, but the sender would like to remain anonymous, so I gave her a fake name. We'll call her Lois. Now, Lois said that her encounter happened about a month ago, so very recently. And she said that her backyard is very close to the woods and that she has an 8-foot tall fence around her backyard. Now, one night around 10 p.m., she was taking out her trash in the backyard when she said she noticed glowing orange eyes looking over her fence at her. Now, from the light on her back patio, she said she could make out pointy ears and what looked like a snout. She said once she saw the snout and the pointy ears, she ran back into the house and made sure all her doors were locked. Now, she mentioned that it's impossible for any animal to be able to poke its whole head over her 8-foot tall fence and just look over casually like that. In Pennsylvania, she can't think of any animal that's taller than 8 feet. She said she thinks she saw a werewolf. She's never told anybody about this encounter until she emailed me because she doesn't want her neighbors to think she's crazy, but she doesn't know what to do. She asked for my advice. She said she can't afford to move. You know, she's afraid that this thing is going to come back. Honestly, the only advice that I can give, and I'm not a professional, I don't know a lot about these creatures, so that's my disclaimer, but the advice that I would like to give is, one, move your trash can to the front of the house. That way, when you take it out, it's in the front where there's a lot more traffic, a lot more, stuff going on. Two, I would set up cameras in your backyard, because I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard on other podcasts that they believe that these dogmen things can see cameras, which is why they don't get caught on cam trails. So they can see cameras. They try to avoid cameras. So I would set up cameras in your backyard. I would even set up, I don't know, if there's something that makes noise when movement is detected in your backyard, I would probably set that up. But if you're a listener and you have better advice than me, let me know. Let her know down in the comments below. Yeah, that's honestly the only advice I could give. I think, and my theory is that it was probably attracted to your trash and maybe, or it was passing through and it was just being nosy. But I do hope that this was your first and only sighting of this thing. I hope that it doesn't come back, but keep me updated. And full transparency to the listeners and the audience, I did give her this advice in the email, but I'm restating my advice for you listeners. That way, if you guys have any better advice, you can give it to her in the comments. But thank you guys for sending in your encounters. It means so much. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you to the subscribers. Everybody who comments, thank you so much. And yeah, don't forget to join the Facebook group. Follow me on Instagram. Send in your encounters, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.